Hello and welcome to the Arsenal Bite Size Podcast. I'm your host Clayton at Clates AFC on Twitter, here to review the Southampton game. And with me to do that is my co-host at FPL Nima. How are we doing?
Yeah, good mate. Nice to be here for the review. Slightly nervy day at the Emirates yesterday, but all in all, nice conclusion to the match and very, very happy about it.
Yeah, it definitely was more nervy than I don't know if you had a chance to listen to the preview show, but we obviously had a guest on in Matt Samuel, who's a Southampton fan, and he was. I think I asked him the question like, "How do you think Southampton can exploit Arsenal?" And he was just so like, "We can't." And even I predicted 5-0, and I tell you what, when it was half time, I was like, not sure about this, but I think there are a lot of different factors in play that made it a bit nervy. But yeah, got there in the end, and we're heading into the international break, third in the league. Well, joint second. But if you look on league tables and stuff, they have us third, 1 point behind Liverpool. And I think, given the context of some of the games that we've had, some of the personnel that's been missing, like we're unbeaten, we're 1 point behind, and we're only going to get stronger, I think. So all in all, yeah, a very good start to the season and a big win yesterday. I think there's one place to start: the lineup. If anyone predicted the lineup yesterday and got 11 out of 11, Jesus Christ, like I tip my hat to you. So there were a few changes. So Arteta was a bit coy in his press conference on Friday about White and Timber and said they'd be in contention, but they'd have the afternoon to kind of look at that. I did think neither would make it. I didn't predict Partey at right back. I thought maybe that's a possibility, but I just thought, given how it's gone before, he wouldn't actually do it. Jorginho came into the team. Sterling got his first start. Jesus came into the team. So Martinelli, Trossard were rested. Who did Jorginho come in for? I'm having a mind blank.
I guess for Party, right? Because of the right back move.
Oh, for Timber, yeah, and
Yeah.
Partey, yeah. So yeah, what was your thoughts on the lineup? Because obviously our good friend Bobby tweeted it, some of the starting players before the official lineup came out. So what was your reaction when it came out?
The first thing I thought is like, oh, this is definitely Party at right back. Like just seeing Jorginho, Party, Rice, and Havertz still in there, I was like, okay, so really what's happened is Martinelli, Leo are out, Jesus and Sterling are in. And then you've kind of got this situation of Zinchenko, not Zinchenko, so Kivior isn't going to play at left back for Calafiori at right back, which is one of the predictions I had. So I thought if Timber was out, that would be the way we would go, be a bit more conservative. So it was just a big shock, really. I wasn't expecting it. I thought at home, you know, if you can't give Sterling and Jesus a run out in this, like to build them up for the cup games and for more important games down the line, then when can you, right?
Yeah, big time, and that's why I asked the question, like, how did you feel at the time? Because we'll get on to how people performed and stuff, but when I saw the lineup, I was excited. I think I'm someone that gets a little bit bored of the same 11 every week. Like, I know it's effective, but I do really like the Carabao Cup games where you get to see some of the fringe players like Raheem Sterling and Jesus. Like, we'll talk about their performances, but they're top quality players. Like, they're Sterling, not so much anymore, being, I was going to say, a full international player, but they're players with like lots of experience. They're good quality players. And like, even Jorginho, I think last year he played a part in some key games and stuff. So I do think it's quite nice when you get to see some of the fringe players of the squad come in. And when I saw the lineup, yeah, I was excited. I thought, oh yeah, that sounds quite nice. And I mean, the rotation thing's interesting. Like, I don't think this would have been from a fatigue perspective, giving Martinelli and Trossard a rest, just because international breaks coming up, and we did have, like, we played PSG on Tuesday, right? So we did have Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So I do think it was literally just a case of like looking at the opposition, who on paper prior to the game were the worst in the league, looking at some of the players that haven't had minutes that are good quality players and just giving them a chance. When I saw, because again, I saw the leak before the 11 and I saw, okay, Jesus, Sterling are, no, what was the first one I saw? Oh, first one I saw was Ethan Waneri is not starting and he's on the bench. And I was chill because I was like, oh, okay, like it's the same 11, it's full strength. But then when I saw the full team and I saw Jesus, Sterling, Jorginho start, I was thinking, could this have been the one where he gave Waneri a start, maybe? And like it's a long season, so not upset by it, but yeah, that was my kind of initial thoughts. But where do you want to start? Should we go through the kind of match flow, or do you want to talk through any individual players?
Um, I think let's go through the match flow. I'm sure we'll cover individuals throughout, but the only individual for me really is like someone asked me who's your man of the match yesterday, and it's hard not to say Bukayo Saka after obviously 2 assists and a goal. But I also felt like it was just another level I saw from Kai Havertz again. So in terms of individuals, he wasn't my man of the match, but I just want to shout him out as an individual because it's just like small things. Like once he scored, he just kind of picked the ball up and ran to the center circle to get the game going again. Like 1-1 wasn't enough. And the technique in which he took his shot to equalize, I was really quite impressed that he actually got that shot off and the way it ricocheted in off the inside of the post. Like it just felt like a super mature moment from him. And I was like, okay, his confidence is here. He has arrived. Like he is one of the most important players now in this team, even if people don't quite see what we have yet.
Yeah, big time. It's just something about like the way he carries himself now, right? I think before, like literally 12 months ago, you could see he was on the periphery quite a bit in games. Like now, like you say, he kind of takes that onus on himself. He looks like one of the senior leaders in that group. And I mean, we're coping so well without Martin Odegaard,
Mm.
and he's obviously our captain. I honestly think Kai Havertz being out would be a bigger miss to Arsenal than what Martin Odegaard is right now, just in terms of his tactical variability, what he gives us, his power. Like, I think we've replaced Odegaard in different ways. And like, I'm not saying we don't miss him. Of course, that's not what I'm saying. But like, I really think if Havertz was out, we'd struggle to recreate some of the situations that we generate in games without him. And yeah, I'm glad you called him out. Not called him out. That sounds negative. I'm glad you shouted him out because yeah, I thought he was absolutely phenomenal yesterday. And there's that clip doing the rounds right in the last minute where he's just battling it out as well. And yeah, the way he took that finish as well, like when I think of Kai Havertz as a number 9, I always think of him as like intelligent movement, getting in the box, like drifting into kind of blind spots behind defenders. I don't look at that finish yesterday and think he's got that in his locker. So for me, that's really encouraging.
Mm.
Something new to me from what I'm seeing from him.
Yeah, 100%. I think in terms of the game flow, as you say, my biggest thoughts on that are that, like, obviously, I took my younger brother for his first game at the Emirates, and
Oh,
that
is
was
it
great
nice?
fun. Yeah, so he's 16, going on 17 in December, so he's doing his AS levels and stuff now. But we'd actually been to a Millwall game together before, so his previous experience was Millwall Blackburn, and I think this was safe to say
Slightly
a
different.
completely different game. Yeah, yeah, no, he
Different
really
game,
enjoyed.
different fans, different environment, many
Yeah,
differences.
yeah, no, he had a fantastic time, but I was kind of at half time. I could tell that, like, I was just like, this is so like dry. I don't know if it was because like just Southampton weren't being too adventurous themselves, but it felt like obviously they had a shot that I remember in the first half on target, and I think Raya just kind of caught it, and it was like a tame effort. But then when I looked at our stats, even we'd had like 12 shots, but only one of ours was on target too, and it felt like that. Like I just felt like we weren't really going anywhere in that first half. I don't know if it was just me, but it felt a bit flat.
Yeah, and it's one of them where like I speak a lot about the timing of Arsenal's first goal dictating the game state, right? And like in that first passage of play, I think it was like the first 10, 15 minutes, we were so good at just having them camped in, and it did feel like an inevitability. Sure, on the statistics, there weren't like big chances, there weren't shots on target, there wasn't high XG, but the areas we were occupying were incredibly dangerous. And I think there was one where like the ball ricocheted to Jesus, and he took a shot and it was blocked or went wide or something. And there were lots of bits where it was like a more decisive action would have converted that to a high quality chance.
Mm.
So when the first 10 minutes panned out, I was thinking, oh, this is going to be a walk in the park. And for what it's worth, I can't remember if I said this already, but my prediction was 5-0.
Wow.
I took my dad to the game yesterday, and even that, I was like, oh, yeah, like I think it's going to be a walk in the park. And that first 10 minutes, I did feel that way. And then as we get to half time, I was feeling the same as you. I was like, we've had the ball in a lot of good areas, but we're not doing anything with it. And other than that 10-15 minute spell where I thought we were in good areas and could have converted it, I
Mm.
felt like towards the end of the first half, I was looking at it as like we're in okay areas, but not. It doesn't look like it's going to convert into anything. And yeah, like you've already said, the stats at half time was that. So to be fair, first half stats, we did have an XG of 1.19, but we only had one shot on target, and there was one big chance. I'm trying to remember what that one big chance would have been, but yeah, at half time, I was thinking like I thought we needed to make a change. I just thought the lineup wasn't working per se, but it was one of them where I just thought, oh, as long as we continue to play, wear them down, like something will come. I just was hoping for a bit more excitement, I guess, and maybe that's me being spoiled.
Yeah, no, I think to be fair, we did have a few chances. I'm just looking here at like the first half match report, and although there was only two shots on target in the first 30 minutes, there was the Kyle Walker Peters one I mentioned where he just kind of took his luck from range and Raya just kind of barely troubled, caught it. But Havertz looked like he was going to score, and then like one of their defenders just dived in and stopped the shot reaching Aaron Ramsdale,
I
Jorginho.
can't remember that one.
Yeah, there was a few big blocks they made, which is why I guess the shots weren't on target, right? Because they were like blocked shots. So they were like putting their lives on the line. Some of these defenders, they were doing great in that first half.
And maybe
Jorginho
that,
had a shot as
yeah, that
well.
was the one from like he took it on his chest and like volleyed it and it just went wide, right? Maybe
Yeah,
that
that's
Havertz
why.
one was in that period where I was talking about like we were in the right areas and it could have converted, but it didn't quite, and that's why I can't remember it possibly.
And then there was one from Thomas Partey as well, a low effort towards the opposite corner of the goalkeeper. But again, like it's just, Ramsdale managed to get it.
Was that the one where then Sterling went to follow it up and like we got a corner as a result?
Yeah, that
I
was the
thought
one.
because I sit on the other side of the ground, so I thought we scored there. I think my dad did as well.
It looked like it went into me, yeah. But so it was just, I think it was, the thing is, like, it was total control. Like, even though it was a deadlock, it felt like we had complete control of the proceedings. But it just, it was one of those games where I still felt going into the second half, like, okay, you know what? And this is where maybe this is how I thought the individuals might naturally come into the conversation. This is where I was like, okay, like, I reckon, have we done the exact same thing? And it was, Martinelli and Leo on the pitch. I think we'd already be up. That was what was going through my head. So I was kind of like, okay, it's good that like I know Sterling took on his man a couple of times, especially in the second half as well. Like dropped his shoulder, ran in, like some nice moments from them all in all. But it just didn't feel like as good as when we played with Leo. I was almost like, damn, okay. And as soon as Leo and Martinelli did come on, it was like, okay, like this was quite different.
Big time. I think you hit the nail on the head there with like there were nice moments, but it never felt like there was gonna be a level of effectiveness with them. And like, I mean, maybe we can just speak about Sterling and Jesus now. Like, yeah, Sterling, I agree with you, to be honest. The only thing I want to add was I really felt a lack of intensity from him. And I think now I'm so tuned into the off the ball stuff. And there were a couple of moments where he lost the ball, and even when Southampton had the ball, he wasn't quite aggressive enough in terms of getting into them. Like we obviously pressed really aggressively, man to man, and I do think the intensity for him isn't there right now. And I mean,
Mm.
this was the perfect game to give him a start. Likewise with Jesus. Jesus's cameos recently have been a mixed bag, but I think this was a fine game to give him a start. And I can't shake this feeling like it could have been different if that shot of his did convert. I can't remember who blocked it or what happened. I've got this crystal clear image in my head of the ball falling to him and him taking a shot and it getting blocked on its way in. But he's a weird one because that Bayer Leverkusen game in pre-season, like, do you remember how bullish I was on Jesus starting the season? And like,
So was
it,
I.
yeah,
Yeah.
he looked sharp in pre-season. Arteta was really vocal about his kind of energy and how he kind of felt confidence-wise, and you could see the on-ball ability back. Like in pre-season, I know there's caveats; it was pre-season, but like he wasn't playing against mugs in Bayer Leverkusen, and he was part of the team that tore them apart. So it's really interesting watching him at the minute. I do think like we've been here before. Like, and again, one player will touch on Martinelli. He's gone from kind of struggling, being written off by people, to now scoring in back-to-back Premier League games and performing well. So I think we've been here before with players like not. Let's not write them off because they've got a
Yeah,
part
I
to
wasn't
play
right.
in the squad. But yeah, I'd be lying if I said I wasn't disappointed in
I think
Sterling
it's
and
just
Jesus'
worrying.
performance.
I think it's just worrying because Sterling less so. Like obviously, that I don't feel as concerned about him. Jesus is the one that something feels off in the sense of his confidence. So like he looks like he's where Martinelli was recently in the headspace kind of side of things. He's like, I guess like just to put it in perspective, Kai Havertz has now outscored him in his Arsenal career, and Havertz arrived like a year later or 2 years later. I don't even remember how many years later, but and you kind of look at that and you're like, and Kai wasn't even playing striker for so much of it. And you're like, okay, so what is Jesus? Is he a number 9 at Arsenal, or is he a winger that likes to move into the striker position? Like, where is he best suited for us? When we had that revolution of him and Zinchenko arriving, he changed the club. We went from a team that finished 5th to like challenging for a title. And it just feels weird because it's like, how have we so quickly in so few seasons? It feels like we've almost outgrown him. Like, we don't need like him as the backup to Havertz. Like, we need another striker next summer. And it's sad to say, but I just feel like this could be the end, like the beginning of the end for him with us.
No,
That's
I
what I feel
agree.
sad about it, because it feels like we've
Yeah,
almost grown past him. But I still think he's got his place to play. We know about Champions League Jesus as well with his numbers in that tournament. So hopefully there's still some big moments and big goals to come from him as well before anything was to happen. But it just, I don't want to say the writing's on the wall. Like Martinelli was much younger, is what I'm saying. Like I had faith that he would come back eventually when the confidence came. With Jesus, I feel like, do I see this as the core part of what I want the future of this squad to be? And I don't think I do.
yeah, I agree. I think like he'll more than play his part this season, but I think next summer we'll be looking to move him on. And even if you look at his place within the squad, he's essentially become an Nketiah level player in the sense of his role within the squad. Like we're not going to rely on him unless it's enforced. And I think the difference is then you're looking at the wages. Yeah, I think we'll look to move that on, get a different profile in. And in terms of how we've evolved past him, we've just become a very powerful, effective, and decisive team. And I'd say, like, to be fair, he's powerful and he can be effective, but I wouldn't say like he is the opposite of a decisive player, right? And I think where we're becoming this ruthless, like high functional performing team, I just think he's someone that takes too many touches for like the way we're evolving as a team, and he just doesn't fit the style with where we're headed. And now the irony is, I've spoken a lot about him in the Champions League. Why he works is because of that kind of chaos factor, and I guess that
Try to
indecisiveness.
take on like 4 or 5 guys.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, it's one where I still think he'll have a part to play this season. And I think there'll be a patch where he absolutely is flying. Like he's too talented not to. It does feel like, yeah, we're kind of moving past the need for Jesus in this squad with the way we play and that kind of one football brain. Does feel like sometimes he's kind of in his own universe. But
Just
yeah, I
speaking
think
of Sterling as well. So the reason why I'm not as concerned about him is I just feel like it will come. Jesus has been with this squad for a long time. Like he knows what the manager wants. Sterling is having to learn it all, right? It's all new to him, and he's coming from an environment like Chelsea. Jesus is just coming back from multiple injuries and kind of falling out of being number 1 choice. Sterling, I'm willing to give a bit more of like turn the other way. And I know that the wages are far lower than Jesus is with Chelsea covering it. And I know it's a loan. So it just doesn't feel the same level of, oh, we're moving beyond this guy. Speaking of Sterling, and you were talking about tracking back or like when we lose the ball, like these guys are not the same as say like Martinelli and Leo in the work rate off the ball. I do think it was actually him who was dispossessed by Fernandez.
did
Who
you
then,
think that was a foul?
yes, I was going to ask about that. The whole thing is very weird. So there's 2 moments that I find weird. There was the moment where I think Sterling got taken out, and it might be this moment, and then there was like a play on to an offside Jesus. So then they got given an offside instead of us getting a foul,
I
because
can't
somehow we had
remember.
an advantage from our player being fouled. But there was no advantage because him being fouled led to him accidentally kicking the ball forward towards the offside guy. And then they got an offside instead of us getting the foul for being kicked to the floor. So that was one of the moments as well. I just want to add that. That was 100% a foul. I don't know how it ended up an offside. That was one of the most poor, lacking in common sense refereeing decisions I've seen this year. And it wasn't a major one, but it was just like, how do you guys get stuff wrong day in, day out, every fucking weekend? So just enough on those guys. But this one, no, I think Sterling got dispossessed, and I just think he kind of. I looked at it. I think it almost felt like he was like both feet planted, if I remember it correctly, and the ball was in between them, and the guy just kind of hit the ball. He fell and he just ran past him, and then clipped it over to Archer, who obviously finished. So
What
I
a
don't
finish,
think
by the way.
yeah, I don't think it was a foul. I just think, yeah, I just think we were like just not strong enough at that moment.
Agree.
It was that whole kind of thing of Jesus trying to take too many touches. Sterling was similar. Like he just, neither of them are giving the ball as quickly as some of the other chaos merchants like Calafiori, where he's got chaos in his own way. He's like, give the ball, get it, go. Like, I'm just like, wow, we've not seen this for a while at this team.
And that's it. You know, when I talk about like the power in the team, like Calafiori, I think is the epitome of where we're headed as a team. Like he's got the technique, but it's the power with his actions. Like it's not just a pass and move, like you say. It's the intention behind it. Like he passes it, and when he moves, he is like barging him through people. Like they can't cope with him. Like I've got a little bit of concern on his like defensive positioning. Like, and if I had to put a percentage on that, I must say it's like 10-15%. And I've seen this doing the rounds on Twitter. Like the upside of him and the positives completely negate and outweigh any slight concerns there are. But it would be weird for me to not mention something that I'm seeing that I'm like, okay. And I'm not talking about like the one time Dibbling went past him. It's more, I think this is the thing in modern football analysis. There's a lot of like people only notice something that converts to metrics. So it's like a dribbled pass or something that results in a goal. Whereas I tend to look at things that don't register as metrics, that are more like, okay, could that be a pattern that is repeatable? And that's the thing I see with him. Like sometimes he gets a little bit drawn in centrally too much and gives himself a lot of work to do in terms of covering space. Even the way he carries the ball, I wouldn't be surprised if he like misjudges tackles sometimes and gets a few yellows, but what he brings on the ball is absolutely unreal. And I don't think it's a coincidence in the 2-3 games now that Martinelli's looking a lot better. But just one more thing I wanted to add on Sterling and Jesus. Like what you said there, I agree. Like I think Sterling had to be stronger when he was dispossessed for the goal. But Jesus, there was another moment where the ball went into him and he could have laid the ball off to someone who just would have had a clean shot on goal from outside the box. And he didn't. He tried to go and dribble again. And it was like that for me was exactly. And I don't know if that's a confidence thing, him trying to do too many things to impress. But that for me was the epitome of like, you are not earning your starting position in this team anytime soon. But yeah, for me, obviously the goal was one thing and like well taken from Archer. Constructive criticism on that is what you've said already. Sterling got to be stronger there. I do think Saliba could have closed the angle down slightly and Partey kept the distance a little bit wide to Saliba for Archer to get the shot on. That's very, very minimal.
I do think, by the way, we're rewatching it. I do think there was a deflection as well on the shot.
There was, yeah.
Didn't help, obviously, but it's just one of those moments where I saw that, and I don't know how you felt, but when that goal did go in, I kind of thought, there's a lot of time, and like this is fine. Like we're gonna make the subs, and it's all gonna be fine. It just felt like it was against the run of play, but there were some warning shots, right? So I think before that, as you say, Dibbling slipped past Calafiori. Then there was the cross that deflected, hit the crossbar. They hit the post twice, I think. So like they did threaten. Like I kept saying, like wake up, like this is it. This is your wake up call. I was like, and then when they finally scored, I was like, okay, well I guess it required a fucking goal to wake up. Then not just a few posts and some dodgy moments.
Yeah, that's the thing. I'm to be honest, when they went 1-0 up, as much as it was against the run of play, I was thinking like I've not been massively impressed by what we've actually generated in that game. So I do think it was an element of like needing a wake up call. The intensity for me just went up a gear. Like I did feel the tempo in the first half after that 10-15 minutes incredibly slow, and like Jorginho is someone that I don't think will come into discussion much in this game, but I don't think he added enough in the game. Like he did a couple of nice like chipped balls, playing between the lines, but I think he contributed to the tempo, and like I don't think it's a coincidence that when he went off, like obviously it coincided with the goal which Havertz got in the 58th minute, and then we made the triple sub of Martinelli, Trossard, Marino coming on for Jorginho, Jesus, Sterling. I do think there was a big bit in like Martinelli and Trossard, like the immediate intensity. But then as a result, having Marino and Rice as the distributors with Partey at right back compared to Jorginho, it just meant we were moving it quicker, slicker. So I thought the subs were absolutely spot on. And for me, when we went 1-0 down, I was thinking, oh, Jesus Christ, like I'm not so encouraged because of what I've seen so far. As soon as that equalizer went in and I saw the triple subs, I was like, oh, we're winning. There's no doubt in my mind. And Trossard, he's not someone I think we typically associate aggressive off the ball pressing with. Oh my God. If you watch this game back from when he came on, his tenacity in the way he was pressing was absolutely absurd. I think we all associate that with Gabriel Jesus, right? Like we used to call him the best pressing forward in the world.
Yeah. Pep
Didn't
used to
see any of that yesterday in comparison to what I was seeing with Trossard. So yeah, fair play to him. And then Bukayo Saka just there were spells in this game where he was just toying with them, and like there were moments where he was not just tripled up on. There were 4 people on him, and he was doing his thing where he drops a shoulder, sits someone down. He obviously had a shot that was saved by Ramsdale, went wide, but then the cross he puts in for Martinelli, that is just, as a winger attacking that ball, you cannot ask for a better delivery. What we're watching with Saka at the minute is not normal. Like we're watching, and
It's not normal.
he's mad.
Arteta actually did say so after the game. He said, "Don't forget about Bukayo Saka's age. There are the stats, and you cannot get away from that. And what he's doing at this age is unbelievable." So, like, it's just when I look at that, like even Kai Havertz and stuff, all these guys, everyone who talks about him after, they know that he is on another level. Like he's just like every time he gets criticized, whether it's he gets called inconsistent or he gets called not world class, he just does his talking on the pitch. Like you see the Instagram photo selfie with him and Robert Pires, and then he just goes, "We're friends again," or something. And Pires obviously had to clarify what he meant, and it was a video from like a year ago, and it was just to do with like dribbling or some shit. And then either way, anyone who doubts him, he just doesn't clap back like with words. He just goes on the pitch and does his thing. And this season, it feels like there's like a newfound aggression in Bukayo. Like he's become a man, and he's like now the next generation of Haaland kids are coming through. It's like he's the uncle, right? I think you saw the video where he didn't know how to turn the camera around on the phone. Like
Yeah.
he's like turning into one of these old uncles that doesn't even know technology anymore. So it's weird to think that he is 23 and now he's up there with like in terms of wingers for goal contributions by the age of 23. He's in that top 5. He's on par with players like Giggs. He's catching up with players like Ronaldo. Like it's disgusting. Like if he carries on staying at the Premier League and doesn't go elsewhere and continues doing what he's doing now, he's going to overtake everyone. He's like matched Pires' assists already. He's about to enter Premier League top 100 goal scorers ever, and I think top 100 assist makers ever, or top 50 assists ever in Premier League. And he's 23. Like I just don't, my brain can't. Like I think we just, what is it? 7 assists in 7 league games now.
Is it?
Yeah, he's already. This is disgusting, but in the last 2 league games, he's created more big chances than Foden the entire last season.
No way.
And that was a Foden breakout season.
It does make me laugh, the kind of Palmer and Foden comparisons, because like they're both great players, but Foden for me is the epitome of like, I talk about Tottenham as like this team when like they don't have it when their backs are up against the wall. I think the same with Foden. Like he's very much someone like when the system's perfect, he'll thrive and he'll kind of get the highlights and stuff. And as a result, that's what gets player of the years. Same with Cole Palmer. He is not someone that has that kind of defensive side of the game. And like I know people will say he's a winger, that's not what you should judge him on, but he's the same in the sense that when your team is up against it, I don't think he's someone that will step up. He's someone that gets those 4 goals against weaker opposition. He gets them when, yeah, he gets them in like streaks, right? The consistency with what Saka's doing over the period of time, like for me, there is a reason he is the person people continue to compare to. Like there is
Yeah,
a reason there. Like
every season, new players get compared to him, right? Every single season.
he is the benchmark, and like yeah, I the world class thing makes me laugh. Like I think he's one of, I think he's the best performing right winger in world football right now. Above Yamal, I'm saying that. Like I think what
So again, his assists since the last two seasons equals Yamal and Rodrigo combined.
yeah,
So
it's
people
not.
talk about stats, don't like people. So and now people try new things, right? So they're now showing like open play chances created, or like removing his assists from corners. Like it's just the way the goalposts move. It's like when he was doing it consistently, it was like, oh, he needs to do it in a big Champions League game, and then he goes to the Champions League and like becomes one of the top goal contributors ever at his age, like in his first season. And now, like players like Palmer who haven't done it in the Champions League, they get credited for like doing it. And I'm like, but when it was him, he had to prove it so many different ways. Martinelli, so just on that actually, so Martinelli did say something about Bukayo after the game, which I thought, yeah, so he says he's unbelievable, one of the best players in the world right now. I think other players know that, like even the people who like, you know, his critics who've been coming for him, like rival media pundits, after these games, these last few games, they've been giving him his flowers.
Yeah,
Isn't
big
that
time.
crazy?
I think the big reason he's so underrated is like what we've said before. He's not a trickery player. He's not flashy, and I think this is the thing with like Palmer's and Foden's. Like Palmer is playing in a team that I think they'll get top four Chelsea. Like I do actually think Maresca's quite a good manager, and
Yeah.
they're a top four team, I think. But with that, they don't get the same level of scrutiny. They don't get defended against in the same way the teams defend against Arsenal. Palmer's and Foden's don't get doubled and tripled up on. And Palmer gives the ball away a lot. Foden's decision making is not as consistent and effective as people think. Bukayo Saka's ability to make the right decision 9 times out of 10 in key actions, key areas of the pitch is absolutely elite. And I think that's the side of football that a lot of kind of normal fans don't really pay attention to. They see the highlights, they see the tricks, they see the goals and assists, but any top tier coach will tell you what his worth is in it's absolutely mind-blowing what he's doing. But just one thing I wanted to say, you reminded me there in terms of his assists in X amount of games. Kai Havertz has obviously scored at home 7 games in a row, equaled Van Persie's record. And we obviously spoke about how important he is to the team. But yeah, the next home game is against Liverpool. Oh no, it's not. Sorry, it's against Shakhtar. So in the Champions League. So hopefully that will be another opportunity for him to go and break that record and further squash the narrative that Arsenal need a number 9. Because I believe I saw a stat. Classic. I can't remember what it was. It was something in comparison to Haaland and like number of non-penalty goals in a certain period of time. This was it. It was in 2024 when Havertz started playing up front. He's got the same amount of non-penalty goals as Erling Haaland. So we need a new number 9.
Yeah, that is the thing. Like some of the stuff I hear, even in the crowd from like the faithful match going fans, I always take it with a pinch of salt. And I'm like, do they like just come and drink and like chat to their mates, or do they like truly watch the games, or like do they just have a different view of what they want from the team? Because some of the comments I hear are just, it's almost like they're just repeating like media PR and like narrative. It's like football's become this thing where people just repeat the narrative of whatever Sky or TNT commentators say, rather than look with their own eyes and decide what they think or how they feel about a player. So I just find it wild. Like honestly, some of the stuff I heard about some of our players, people like I saw certain fans like slating Saka's performance from yesterday, and I'm just like thinking to myself, like, yeah, I don't even want to give them the attention they're craving. So I'll stop it there in terms of naming names. But when you think of it like that, you're like, wow, like we just said about how like some of the rival haters have been giving him flowers. How is your own fan base still this delusional? Like, I just don't understand, bro. I don't get it. Just one thing to say on Saka before, because so this guy ahead of the curve on X, he said something about Saka that I just want to read out that I thought was quite interesting. I'll see what your thoughts are on this. And I also obviously want to take a picture shot that we're not comparing him to the player's name I'm about to say, but obviously this guy did. I'm not comparing him to this guy. So he says Saka's ability to dictate the game from right wing is unmatched. When he gets the ball, time stops and both teams move based on his actions. The closest player to 2014 Messi that we have seen. But I'm not comparing him to the player Messi, of course, especially 2014 Messi. But just that first part of the sentence, kind of like dictating the entire game from right wing and how the moment the ball comes to him, time stops and both teams are basically moving based on what he does next. I think that part I'd never considered, and it really does resonate with me. I feel
Yeah,
like everything goes through him.
yeah, it words everything nicely. Yeah, I agree with you. The comparison thing. That's not us making that comparison, but the kind of story he's trying to say in those words is spot on. It's a really nicely worded tweet, to be fair.
And it's just, I think it's just that's what I want to say. Like, it's exciting. Like, forget whether someone's world class or not. I don't really care. Like, if he goes and wins us the trophies we need to win, then it will be impossible to not call him that. So for now, he's just going to keep his head down, keep doing his talking on the pitch, as we said. And I truly believe he will drag us to the next level.
Yep, and it was very fitting that it was him that got the final goal to kind of wrap things up. And look, you did touch on it earlier, actually. There were a couple of wobbly periods. I can't remember what time they happened, but I do remember where they hit the post and they hit the bar from that corner, where Raya completely flapped at it, and I think he hit it onto Harwood Bellis, maybe. But yeah, there was a couple of wobbly periods, but then yeah, we kind of go on the break. And one thing we didn't say for Havertz's goal, actually, Saka's defensive positioning was so smart there. The way he kind of anticipated where the ball was going to go, stuck his foot out, and then the instant first time pass into
Immediate
Havertz.
pass.
Yeah, so that was great. He obviously got the assist for Martinelli's, and then even the third one, just the ability to proactively see that the defender was going to take a touch to pounce there and then just hit it straight in on his right foot. Wrapped up what should have been an easy afternoon, but I think in the end turned, once we got the subs right, turned relatively comfortable. And one thing I want to say, which I'll read the match stats before we go on to the next slide because it illustrates the point I want to make next. But according to Mark, our stats model, the stats for the full 90 minutes was our XG was 2.92 to their 1.29. Our threat was 2.27 to their 0.68. Possession closer, 59.5 to 40.5. Field tilt, we were just camped in their half, 87.1 to 12.9. And defensive action height was 65 to 35.7. But two things I wanted to say was credit to Southampton. I thought they defended very well, especially in the first half. And the football they played in periods was really, really impressive, in my opinion. Like, that we obviously spoke on the preview about similarities with Company's Burnley and like maybe not having the personnel to do what the manager wants. But the philosophy there, I think, is really impressive. And Arteta was vocal in his praise for them as well. But the one thing I wanted to say was, I don't like Declan Rice as the left eight when he's high up. I think he's someone that really needs to be a bit deeper, arrive into positions and stuff. I think the only times he suits being as that really high left eight is like in the game state against Villa, where the game opens up and he's got the space to drive with the ball. I thought the changes suited him to a T, because in the first half, Jorginho was very much like at the base and Rice was kind of left eight. And you did see Havertz more having a preference to drift right. The graphic I've got on screen is the passing networks from minutes 1 to 63. And you can see it's essentially the 4-4-2. But there's a big space with Rice on the left, Jorginho on the right, Havertz on the right, and Jesus on the left. And I just thought the subs absolutely brought the best out of him. And Marino, I think, is going to be the perfect partner for Rice. I just think between the two of them, they're able to play in a similar line. I just don't like Rice as this kind of high second striker left eight. I hate it. I really hate it. I think he's someone that needs to have more touches on the ball in a deeper area, feel the game, see the game. I think there's people that are comfortable in pockets. He's not one of them, in my opinion. So I just wanted to touch on that. But I think that was a big reason that the second half was so much better. We spoke about already the goal having a contribution, but the subs for me just put people in better areas. And even Party at right back, I hate it. I absolutely hate it, to be honest. Like, it's not to say he was bad, by the way. I think he was fine, but it's again the angles that you give someone when they occupy certain spaces. Like he is good as a holding midfielder when he can see the game. I think it's so different when you arrive from out to in, the angles that you then have to see. And I think you could really see we missed a Timber and White, like the ability to take the ball in certain areas. Like Party was fine going in and inverting, but when you then have to ask him to go and play in a little bit of a higher zone, like it doesn't work. And yeah, I don't like that. But I must empathize with Arteta. Like Calafiori right back, Kiwior left back probably isn't the way forward. So I think with what he had available, that was it.
Yeah,
Is there
yeah,
anything you want to add on this before we
I guess.
maybe touch on?
Yeah, yeah, just good that Tomiyasu came on as well. It was just like I was starting to wonder like where he was because it was an innocuous injury. It was meant to be like a couple of weeks, and God knows when that was now. But it's been a long time since that time when it was very minor. So I just hope that he now kind of has 2 weeks, gets himself ready. Same with Marino, get everyone match fit. Timber gets a rest from international duty. It's like slowly it's all coming together. Martin should hopefully be back soon. So it's bit by bit, I think we're getting everyone together. And if we can get them ready and geared up before the Liverpool home game, before the tougher away games at Inter and stuff, like we got a bit of time for everyone to get fully there. But I just feel like we've done quite well to be where we are, still undefeated this season. I don't think we've lost a game of football in like 165 days or something. So it's, like all the signs are good, but it is insane the pressure that we have in September, in October. Every single game is a must win. It's just pretty exciting, like to be in that kind of be in there and thereabouts and fighting it out, right, with the very best.
Yeah, no, well said. And yeah, you're right. I guess the last defeat would have been Villa, right? In
Yeah.
the league. So I just think to add to that, like the context of last international break, we obviously had Odegaard get injured. We knew we were going into the North London derby without Rice. We knew we didn't have Marino. I just think since then we've gone to Tottenham, won. We've drawn away at Atalanta, drawn away against City with 10 men in the second half. We've then beat Bolton, Leicester, PSG, which we'll talk about in a second, and Southampton. We're still unbeaten. Like you said, we're getting players back. I agree with you. It was good to see Tomiyasu back on. Marino's cameos, I think, are looking really impressive. His ability to win the ball, I think, is going to be a game changer. He's more technically competent than I think people will realize as well. I think Zinchenko will be back in the squad soon. So, like after the international break, we've got Bournemouth away, Shakhtar at home, then Liverpool at home. I think that Shakhtar game will be one where we see people reintroduced and build up the likes of Marino to play against Liverpool. I just echo your thought. I think it's been a really, really good start to the season. And long may it continue. Before we talk about PSG, just a couple more things, and then we'll shout out a couple of the guys in the chat as well. So Tommy Guns in, good morning, everyone. Bobby Loves in, morning, gentlemen. Love the jumper plates. Thank you very much. This is I'm very ill. I'm sticking a jumper on and not moving from the sofa all day vibe I'm going for. But yeah, just a couple things before we touch on PSG was this was our 400th home win in the Premier League, second to Man United, who are on 428. So I think we'll beat them. It's a matter of when. So if there's 19 home games in a season and we're 28 behind them, do you think we'll do it in 3 seasons' time?
I think by then Ten Hag will be gone. So
Yeah.
I'll say 4 seasons. If I knew Ten Hag was still going to be around for a while, I'd say we're going to get it done by like 18 months' time.
Yeah, but yeah, I thought that was really cool hearing that. Like, yeah, just the consistency.
This is another good stat. I know we like to wrap up with the facts and stats. So this one's from the match report on Arsenal.com. This one's quite fun actually. So we have never lost a home Premier League game against Southampton. Played 25, won 17, drawn 8, which is the most one side has faced another on home soil in the competition without ever losing. So no
Oh
one has
wow.
ever played more than 25 games at home against the same Premier League opponent and not lost, apart from us versus Southampton.
So that bogey team narrative only works when we go to them.
Yeah, exactly. Then it's also this is pretty interesting one, I think. So yeah, only Haaland and Cole Palmer have more goal involvements than Saka this season. This one is really nice for Gabriel Martinelli. 2 goals. So Gabriel Martinelli has either scored or assisted in each of his last 3 Premier League appearances. So that's 4 goal involvements, 2 goals, 2 assists. So either scored or assisted in each of his last 3, right? However, that's the same number of goal involvements in his previous 20 games in the competition. So he
Wow.
is like, he's gone from 3 goal returns in 20 games to 3. So yeah, 3 goal returns in 3 games.
Yeah, and I think Calafiori's had a big part to play in that, and yeah, it's great timing because you think of the games coming up like that. It's that Liverpool one for me. I always think if we can have Martinelli on his A game, that is the fixture that suits him to a T. And yeah, like I don't like Trossard left wing. I think Trossard is a central player, and Sterling, I'm not quite there yet. So it's good that we've got Martinelli firing. I know I keep throwing things in despite saying we're going to go to PSG, but just a couple thoughts on Ramsdale. I thought he got a good reception yesterday. The one thing I found interesting though, I don't know if you've seen this. The Arteta's obviously been very like uh positive in his praise for him in the pressers and his interviews. But did you see the clip of them like having a hug?
Yeah. Yeah. It's
It
the Arteta.
it
He,
seemed very like it was 2 seconds. Ciao, bye.
yeah, I know, but it's like it's a soft side. It's very that whole tunnel thing. Normally, we're very mean in the tunnel, right?
Oh no, I'm
Pretty
not talking about that. So
come on,
there's
the
a clip doing
opposite.
the rounds of Arteta on the pitch going and like when you high five everyone, like he
No, it's
gives
like the
Ramsdale a hug,
opposite.
but it was literally like 2 seconds. Like they smiled and then he moved on. I Arteta is obviously publicly very positive about Ramsdale. I think he fucking hates him.
You know what? They always wanted Raya, right? Like the goalkeeping coach wanted Raya, Arteta wanted Raya. I think like what Aaron did the 2 seasons where he like really helped us go from where we were to where we then went. It was a huge part of this journey and success. But ultimately, I guess he wasn't their guy, and they kind of like when the opportunity arose, he got squeezed out, right?
Yeah, and this is pure speculation from me, and I am like purely throwing fuel on the fire here to a fire that does not exist. I've got this real hunch that I think Arteta, that interview where Ramsdale came out and said like he can't concentrate for 90 minutes, and like he was just so vocal in the press, like giving so many interviews, going on a fucking talk show with like
His
having
dad
a
was giving
curry,
interviews.
like having poppadoms and this and that in the middle of a fucking title race. Like, I'll be honest, I don't like Ramsdale as much as every Arsenal fan does. I've found him quite irritating with some of his public media appearances, and I didn't think he was a very good goalkeeper compared to others. Like, I thought it was nice he got the reception he did yesterday, but I am very much. I think we've completely upgraded on him. And the levels are different. But I thought like he played well yesterday. Some of his distribution was good. But yeah, I found it interesting seeing I just feel like when Arteta sees Luis Enrique and he hugs him and he's smiling and there's like a genuine love to see that person. With Ramsdale, it very much felt like I knew you once upon a time. I don't know you anymore. And like again, I'm probably over indexing because I'm not Ramsdale's biggest fan myself.
The
But
reason I was talking about the tunnel is because I bloody Calafiori gave him that hug for like 2 seconds as well. So they want to train together very briefly, but you could like normally we're very like focused, and I can see everyone like they really did. The players do have love for him, and like
big
they
time.
were all going and hugging him. And obviously in the North Bank, like when he did come out the second half, I think he got a good reception. They were singing the Aaron Ramsdale song. When the game ended, they were singing England's number one. So I think it was a bit nice for him. I saw a photo where I think he had like a little bit of a tear in his eyes, but it was nice. I think if you don't win that game, he doesn't get that reception. He gets
Yeah.
fucking booed and like chants about how he's a shit. And like, yeah, I think
I
it was fortunate that he got the love while he could, because if they'd taken any points from that game, I don't think the fans would have been singing nice stuff.
No, maybe I'm just being a grumpy old man. Like I get it. He played a part in getting us back to where we are. I just think like if I'm David Raya, I'd be like, we don't sing David Raya's name. Why the fuck are we singing Ramsdale's when he's not part of us anymore? Like the England number one, I thought was nice, but I don't know. Maybe I'm a grumpy old man who's ill on a Sunday morning, so forgive me, people. But um, PSG, should we talk on that?
Yeah, let's do PSG for a bit.
Yeah, so
Before we
the
get
lineup
on.
for that one was obviously what I think we mostly predicted it would be in this game, right? It was the kind of two up top in Trossard, Havertz, Party Rice midfield, Timber came off at halftime in that, Calafiori fullback. I thought that was such an impressive performance. It just felt like we've seen Arsenal teams in the past be like these soft pussies where like they kind of roll over, get their bellies tickled. I was concerned about PSG's techers in midfield, like the Vitinhas, João Neves, Fabian Ruiz, who I was surprised didn't play, Zaire Emery, but they looked like they couldn't deal with our power. It literally looked like boys against men, in my opinion. And I know it wasn't a game of like huge chances and like the expected goals were both like less than one. I believe I saw we restricted PSG to their lowest expected goals in a Champions League game in like 69, 70 games. But
Yeah,
it just felt like first half, 2-0 up, great cross from Trossard into Havertz, great run from Havertz and bravery to take the header. And then a bit of luck with the free kick. But when you're 2-0 up, you then just play the game that is in front of you. And I thought we handled that so well. And I've seen the words like statement win. I do think like statement win may be a bit overblown, but I do think it was like oh shit, like Arsenal aren't going to DOS through these games. It's like comfortable and like it was, yeah, they completely overpowered PSG. So I absolutely loved it. How was it for you? Did you go?
yeah, it was an incredible evening. It just couldn't have gone any better, really. I know the second half we kind of just like dropped a bit deeper, maybe conserved some energy, but it reduced them to very few important chances, as we mentioned. I do think Hakimi looked like some monster. Like he was their best player on the day. Like just a couple of times I saw him just like popping up and just blitzing past half the squad. Like it
Just
was
in the
just
right wing spot, isn't it?
yeah. I'm just like where like I was like Jesus Christ, this guy, man. My guilty thing that I must admit is I do have a Morocco national jersey with Hakimi on it. So
That's fine.
it was nice to see him in the flesh for the first time ever in my life. Obviously, I wished nothing but terrible things on him when he was playing Arsenal, even though he's in my Euro fantasy team. But yeah, no, separate
I
to all
mean,
that.
Champions League fantasy.
Oh yeah, so yeah, Champions League, yeah, Champions League, not yours. But overall, I just think again, like Havertz header, fantastic. The way he beat the keeper, so strong. Just showed so many different finishes in his locker now. The free kick routine, I'm convinced there was a plan behind it.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
seemed
Saka
like
said
there
there
was
was.
information passed to the players, right? Telling them like, you need to drag the other guys out the way, like we're going to go short and stuff. So all in all, perfect victory, perfect game. Everything went to plan, and it was much needed after the 1 point in the first away game. Obviously, we needed to get ourselves closer to that elusive top eight, so that we don't have to play like 2 additional games in the Champions League knockout rounds. So yeah, we're still outside the top eight, but there's some serious teams below us. Like I think Barcelona, Real Madrid. There's a lot of the big teams that are aiming for those top eight positions also below us as it stands. And I would think this is our toughest test in the tournament in the group stages.
I think Inter Milan away might be
I guess
up
away,
there.
yeah.
But yeah, it'll be interesting. Like obviously there's only been 2 games so far, but we've got Shakhtar at home next, right? And I think in every match day in the Champions League, there's the opportunity for someone to slip up in this league format. So I'm very confident we'll beat Shakhtar at home. So it'll be interesting to see where we are after that. Yeah, we're 13th on 4 points, but the maximum you can have right now is 6. So yeah, it's absolutely fine. And I think Dortmund have Real Madrid next. Dortmund are currently topping it. So yeah, it'll
Yeah,
be
they've got
interesting to
a massive
keep an
goal
eye.
difference. I think it's like 9 goal difference or more for them. It's a
Yeah.
disgusting goal
Uh,
difference.
Brest are up there. I've never heard of them before this year, but they're second. But yeah, I think it's quite early to kind of read into the table. But yeah, after match day 3, I think we'll have a really good indication of what we need to do. We've still got like Monaco at home, Zagreb at home. Sporting away will be fairly tricky, but depending on where that lands and what the landscape looks like, you can approach it in a different way.
Maybe we'll get a good look at Victor Gyokeres as well. See if he might be the striker we look to buy next summer.
Possibly, yeah, possibly. It's
Just one
yeah,
small thing. So Miles Lewis Skelly obviously made his Champions League debut. Came on.
see
That was
you with
lovely.
his mum.
Yes, she
I
was
saw
so.
not interview.
That's so nice. It's such a wholesome moment, man. So I think when we're talking about the players all coming back together, the squad coming back together, like all getting to fitness and getting through this period that we have, what we didn't include is like we've also been seeing some of the youngsters getting blooded in with Ethan and Miles, and they're coming on like away at the Etihad, away at Tottenham, like Champions League minutes. Like these guys are. They're really, who the last youngest player to make a Champions League appearance for us was before Miles Lewis Skelly.
Would it have been Wilshere?
So there was 3 17-year-olds who all played against Galatasaray in December 2014. So 10 years ago in December, there was 3 17-year-olds at the time who made Champions League appearance, and he is the youngest player since then at 18 to make a Champions League appearance for us.
Does it tell you who the three are? That just because that's really bugging me.
Yeah, I know who they all are.
Nico Yanaris?
So the first one, Ainsley Maitland-Niles.
Okay.
He was 17 at the time. There is also Gideon Zelalem, if you remember him.
Oh, shit. He was meant to be the new Cesc, wasn't he?
And then there's one more that I don't even remember featuring in this game, Stephen O'Connor.
Fuck knows.
I don't even remember. Must have been like a last group stage game where we were already top of the group and Wenger just threw a bunch of players.
I think, was that a home game? I think that's the one where Welbeck scored a hat-trick.
It could very well have been. Yeah, it could very well have been.
Fair play. 17-year-old Ainsley Maitland-Niles.
Yeah, he was the last guy 10 years ago. He was the last youngest player since Miles Lewis Skelly to come on the pitch for us in 10 years.
That Zelalem, I had such high hopes for him as well. Like I remember watching him in pre-season and stuff, and like he had a kind of really nice weight of pass, just really cultured on the ball. But I think he went to Rangers, and then I don't know what happened to him in the end. But we'll take a couple questions before we get out of here. So if anyone's listening in the chat, you got a question you want us to answer, chuck them in, and we'll see if we can cover them before we get out of here. Is there anything else you want to cover on the PSG game before we move on?
Just we'll go to the Q&A, but just on Bukayo Saka, because I was talking about how like incredible his entry into the Champions League world has been. So he has been directly involved in 8 goals in 6 Champions League appearances, 5 goals and 3 assists in 6 Champions League appearances.
Doing it on all stages.
6 home games. So in 6 home games, he has 8 returns. 5 goals, 3 assists.
That Shakhtar game, I think, is going to be fun, man. Was it Lens or Lens at home? We won like 6-0.
Was that when we were together in the box?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I don't think it will quite be 6, but like I think it'll be fairly comfortable. I think that's a game where, in the context of Bournemouth away, Shakhtar at home, then a big game against Liverpool at home, I can see 2-3 changes in that Shakhtar game. That's the one where I can see Sterling, Jesus getting a second shot, let's say.
Yeah.
Let's go to some of the questions. So, I mean, I say some. There's only 2, so we'll take these 2 and then we'll get out of here. Christopher Tellez, hope you're good, mate. Hey, gents, only just got here, so ignore if you've already spoken about it. But my word, doesn't Calafiori seem like he could be an absolute steal? Feels like the missing piece we've been wanting at left back. Yeah, we touched on him, but I mean, we didn't really speak about like his price or him being a steal, just more like what he adds to that position. I think I've always looked at left back as like, we've got Tomiyasu, we've got Timber that can play there, we've got Zinchenko, we've got Kiwior that can play there, but like none of them feel like they're the one that has everything you want in that position. Calafiori, I said it early in preseason, he was going to lock down that left back spot. Like, yeah, Chris, we spoke a little bit about his kind of defensive position concerns, which comes on to your next question. Well, not question, but statement. Just needs to improve on his recovery pace a bit, and also seems to get gassed out late in games, which is risky when we face pacey wingers. Yeah, I think recovery pace, I don't think is something when you're like I think he's 22, right? I'm not sure that's something he can really work on now. I think instead of that, you look at like his positioning and not needing to rely on the recovery pace because he's got his angles a bit better and stuff like that. But he's 22. I think I saw after Saka, he's like Sorry, not after Saka. I think I saw he's like one of the youngest in the squad or something, and like he's new to the team. Like he would have never. I mean, possibly. I was gonna say he would have never seen tactical football like this, but he was part of Thiago Motta's Bologna, so maybe he has been. But it's a lot to learn and take in. But
It's
yeah,
a
I think what
lot to take in. So this is what I mean about the fans in the stadium saying things, which I mentioned earlier. So I could hear like a couple guys were like, "Oh, he looks unreal," and he's a steal. Then one guy was like, "Oh, like I like my defenders like to be good defensively. I don't really care if they can do so." And I'm like, "Bruv, like
tell
this
that
guy's gonna
dinosaur
win
is
us everything."
2024.
Yeah, I'm like, bro, like we're not looking for no fucking drunks eating pie and mash and fucking jumping to do massive aerial duels every game. We're fucking kicking the ball over the top. Like that's not where football is anymore. Like, I get it. You want your defenders to be defenders, sure, but we're looking at someone who maybe I'm being a bit reactionary here, but I truly believe like him and Guardiola, like the successors to the kind of we're talking like the Danny Alves's of the world. Like I'm talking at like some of the best fullbacks I've seen.
Yeah, no, I agree, and I think like we're watching Arsenal evolve again right in front of our eyes. Like spoke earlier about us moving on from Zinchenko and Jesus, right? And they're two people that take so many touches on the ball. I think we are evolving into a very direct and powerful, aggressive team. And Calafiori, I think, is the epitome of that identity. And you look at Marino as well. I think they're people that are very smart. Like they don't take too many touches, but they are very powerful in the actions they take. And like Zinchenko, I think is someone that is beautiful at dictating play from the first phase, can look really comfortable on the ball, but he looks like a boy in this team now. When you look at
Mm.
some of the powerful men we've got, I think Arteta is building a team to go and win this Champions League. And you look at his interview when he was asked about Arsenal, about Odegaard, and he spoke about having to adapt. You look at how he describes the Champions League as being a different game. I just think he's built a squad that is capable of tackling any situation and game state. And Calafiori at left back, I agree. I think he's going to be transformative in that role. And yeah, I think we'll absolutely look at him as a steal. And of course, he's got little things to iron out, but he's under the best group, the best manager, the best coaches to work on that.
I think we just briefly, and we'll get out of here. I think we spoke about this that the Juventus leadership they come out and were kind of saying that it was a very sad day and bad day for Italian football, not because Juventus couldn't get Calafiori, but that because the whole of Serie A couldn't retain an Italian player in their own league of his level. When you look at Italian players, not very many of them or players from Serie A, they don't really leave. They don't want to come over to rainy, shitty England, like and
With the shitty food.
yeah, and leave like their beautiful country, beautiful landscapes, beautiful food, beautiful everything, right? And then come here and like if they're not living in London, they're like coming from the biggest culture shock in their life. Like you can see like players like, moving up north and they're like, what the fuck? What have I done? And they just like get instant depression. And like you remember there was the player we had. Who was it? Was it Ceballos or someone? No, it was fucking Lucas Torreira. Like they come
Oh,
here, they're
yeah.
just like pure depression. They're like, why did I come to this country? So yeah, I just think just you got to deep that Calafiori come to watch us in like January of this year in the stadium. And my guy in his first interview, his English was so good. I was like, what? Like, this guy's ready. It's like he's been doing like Duolingo and prep. Like he's been pushing for this move. So I'm truly excited to see where he can go next for us. But yeah, with that, we'll get out of here. And it's been good to see you, Clayton.
Yeah,
I think one
likewise.
thing we'll say is obviously if you've enjoyed the episode, guys, please do hit that like button. If you're new around here, do subscribe. We will preview and review all the games. And yeah, we might do some guest specials here and there. Like obviously there was the preview for Southampton with a Southampton fan, which was quite nice. And yeah, like let us know what you want to see more of. Enjoy the matches today. I think today is the Sir Jim Ratcliffe is gone to the game to sack Ten Hag straight after.
Is
So
it?
he's arrived. Yeah, he's pictured arriving. So I guess we'll wait and see. We'll wait
On
and
that
see.
note, though, so Christopher Teller says, random this, but just seen Evans and Maguire are starting for Man United. Ten Hag really wants to get sacked before facing us in
I don't
December.
think
So
they even
on
have a defensive midfielder in the lineup.
Really? So yeah, today's going to be quite a fun hate watch actually, because it's Aston Villa, Man United, and then Brighton, Tottenham. So I personally would like Man United to win because I would like Eric Ten Hag to stay employed as long as possibly, as long as possible, and then we obviously would like a Brighton win. But on that note, yeah, thank you very much, everyone. Been a good episode, great start to the season. International break now, so we don't have anything scheduled. Both of us quite busy. I'm ill at the minute, so if I get better, I'll think of something ad hoc. But like Nima said, let us know if you want to see anything in particular over the break, and then failing that, we'll be back to preview the Bournemouth game and back in the normal schedule.
Nice.
Anything else?
No, that's it. Come on, guys. Enjoy the break. Come on, you Gunners. And yeah, don't forget to subscribe if you're new around here on our journey to 300 subs, please. But
Lovely
yes,
stuff.
see you all
Cheers,
soon.
everyone. Up the Arsenal.
Come on, you Gunners.